The night Yuli was born, the winds of Entaboo howled like angry spirits tearing through the village. Thunder cracked the sky open, and lightning lit the world in flashes of white fire. Inside a small clay hut at the edge of the village, Akona clutched her belly, screaming as the midwife whispered desperate prayers. When the baby finally came, the midwife froze, staring at the child's shoulder. There, glowing softly in the flickering firelight, was a spiral-shaped mark that shimmered like molten gold. A spirit mark, the midwife breathed, trembling as she stepped back. This child belongs to two worlds. Outside, villagers had gathered, drawn by the storm and the cries. When the news spread that a child with a spirit mark had been born, fear flooded their hearts. They believed such children were bridges between the living and the dead, harbingers of strange destinies. Akona held her baby close, whispering, "You are my blessing." But even she could not ignore the chill in the air. Her husband, Oteno, a respected hunter, tried to keep the rumors quiet. Yet fear spreads faster than truth. As Yuli grew, she noticed how people's eyes followed her, filled with suspicion. The children of Natabo refused to play with her, calling her cursed girl. When she walked past, elders muttered prayers under their breath. Even animals seemed to act strange around her. Dogs barked when she neared, and crows followed her to the fields. But Yuli felt something else too. The forest seemed alive, whispering secrets only she could hear. At night, when the moon was full, her dreams were filled with voices singing from the old baobab tree on the hill. Her mother forbade her to go near it, but curiosity is stronger than fear. One evening, drawn by an unseen pull, Yuli walked alone to the tree. The air turned cold, and the earth trembled slightly under her feet. The whispers grew clearer, forming her name, Yuli. Yuli, like the wind itself, was calling her. A figure began to form from the shadows beneath the tree, a tall woman cloaked in darkness, her eyes glowing red like coals, her smile soft but unsettling. "You bear my mark," the woman said, in a voice that felt like thunder wrapped in silk. "The storm recognized you because you are mine. One day you will understand what that means." The woman reached out, touching Yuli's mark, and in that moment the trees bent as if bowing. Yuli gasped and stumbled back, and when she looked again, the woman was gone. Only the echo of her words remained in the air. From that night, nothing in Yuli's world was ever the same. The villagers' fear grew deeper, the whispers louder, and somewhere deep inside her heart, Yuli began to feel the strange power that pulsed beneath her skin like fire, waiting to awaken. Days turned into seasons, and Yuli's strange connection with the forest only grew stronger. By the time she turned 16, she had learned to walk quietly among trees that seemed to breathe her name. The villagers still treated her like a curse. They crossed themselves when she passed, spat behind her, and warned their children not to look into her eyes. Yet the forest welcomed her like an old friend. When she was sad, the wind would comfort her. When she was hungry, fruits dropped at her feet. Even wild animals bowed their heads in her presence. Still, her heart ached for acceptance. Her only comfort was her mother, Akona, who loved her fiercely but lived in fear of what others might do. One evening, after a cruel boy called her witch spawn and threw stones at her, Yuli ran deep into the forest, her tears mixing with the rain that began to fall. The deeper she went, the quieter everything became. No birds, no insects, only the whispering of leaves. She followed the sound until she reached the ancient baobab tree once more. Lightning flickered across the sky, and suddenly the air shimmered with ghostly light. From that glow emerged the same dark figure she had seen as a child. The spirit woman with coal-red eyes and a voice like honeyed thunder. "You have grown, my daughter," the woman said softly. "Do you still fear what you are?" Yuli trembled, but did not run this time. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. The spirit smiled. "I am who you will become. The blood of the spirits runs in your veins. Your grandmother once saved me from mortal men, and I swore that her lineage would never be powerless again. You, Yuli, are my promise kept." The words hit her like rain on fire. "But they all hate me," Yuli whispered. "They think I bring death." The spirit stepped closer. "Let them think what they will. Those who fear you now will one day beg for your help. But first, you must learn the ways of the whispering forest." She stretched out her hand, and the wind swirled around them, carrying ancient chants and unseen faces. When Yuli took her hand, the forest seemed to come alive. Roots moved, trees bent, and glowing fireflies formed strange symbols in the air. A warm energy flooded her chest, filling her with strength, but also sorrow. For in that moment, Yuli realized that the path before her would forever set her apart from the world of men. As the spirit vanished into mist, her voice echoed one last time. "Remember, child power is neither good nor evil. It only reflects the heart that wields it." When Yuli returned home that night, her eyes glowed faintly, and even the moon seemed to follow her. She felt both blessed and cursed, carrying a destiny she could no longer deny. After that night, Yuli could no longer live as an ordinary girl. Every morning, she felt the pull of the forest calling her name, a deep hum that stirred in her bones. Her mother begged her to ignore it, but Yuli knew her destiny was tied to the spirits. So, before dawn one morning, she left home quietly, carrying nothing but the glowing amulet the spirit woman had left behind. As she stepped into the whispering forest, the trees parted before her like living gates. The air shimmered with ancient power. Then the spirit woman appeared once more, surrounded by flickering lights that looked like souls. "Yuli," she said, "to embrace what you are, you must pass the 3 trials of the spirits. Only then will you understand your gift." Yuli bowed her head. "I am ready." With that, the spirit raised her hand, and the forest shifted into a realm of illusions and echoes. The first trial was the trial of fear. Yuli found herself standing in her village, but everything was burning. The villagers screamed her name, cursing her as fire devoured their homes. Her mother turned to her, her eyes hollow, and whispered, "You caused this." Yuli fell to her knees, sobbing, but then she remembered the spirit's words. "Fear is only truth twisted by doubt." She clenched her fists and shouted, "This is not real." Instantly, the flames vanished, leaving only silence. She had passed the first trial. Then came the trial of fire. The ground cracked open beneath her, and rivers of flame surrounded her. Her hair burned, her skin blistered, and pain filled her body. "Do you run from what you cannot control?" the spirit's voice asked. Yuli wanted to flee, but she took a deep breath and stepped forward into the fire. As she walked, the flames turned into golden butterflies that landed gently on her arms. She smiled through her tears. Fire did not destroy her. It obeyed her. Finally came the trial of truth. Yuli was shown her reflection in a pool of water, but it was not hurt, was the spirit woman. "Who are you?" Yuli asked. The reflection smiled sadly. "I am you, and you are me. The blood of the forest flows through both our veins." Yuli gasped as the truth settled in. She was not merely chosen. She was born from a spirit's essence, half human and half divine. When she accepted this truth, the forest filled with music, and the mark on her shoulder flared with pure light. The spirit woman appeared once more and whispered, "Now you understand. You are not cursed. You are the bridge between two worlds." The forest bowed, the wind stilled, and Yuli felt peace for the first time. She had passed the trials, but deep down she sensed that this was only the beginning of her journey. When Yuli stepped out of the whispering forest after her trials, the sun was rising crimson, and a heavy silence had settled over the land. She had been gone for 7 days, yet to her it felt like lifetimes. Her once fragile spirit was now steady and fierce, and her eyes glowed faintly like embers hidden under ash. But the world she returned to was not the same. The village of Entabo had been struck by calamity. Crops withered, wells dried up, and a strange sickness swept through the children. The people, desperate and afraid, looked for someone to blame them. The moment Yuli stepped into the village square, whispers turned into shouts. "She's returned." One woman screamed, "The witch has brought the curse upon us." Men grabbed spears, mothers clutched their children, and the old chief rose from his stool, trembling with fury. "Yuli, daughter of Akona," he bellowed, "you bring nothing but ruin. Leave this place before the gods destroy us all." Yuli stood tall, her heart breaking, but her voice steady. "I bring no curse. The land suffers because it has been poisoned by greed and hatred. The spirits cry because you no longer listen." But her words only deepened their fear. That night, a mob gathered outside her mother's hut, carrying torches and shouting for her banishment. Yuli stepped out into the firelight, her mark glowing through her garments. "You want me gone?" she said quietly. "Then remember this night." As the mob moved closer, she raised her hands to the sky and whispered the language of the spirits. The wind howled. Clouds twisted. A storm burst forth so suddenly that torches were snuffed out, and the mob fell to their knees in terror. The rain poured down, washing away dust from the dying crops, and in moments life returned to the soil. The people stared, mouths open, realizing that the same girl they had called a witch had saved them. Yet fear is stubborn, it does not die easily. The chief dropped to his knees, but instead of thanking her, he whispered, "You are too powerful to live among us." Yuli looked at her mother, whose tears mixed with rain. "Go, my child," Akona whispered, "before they destroy what they don't understand." Yuli nodded slowly, turning toward the forest. The spirit woman's voice called out faintly through the storm. "You have done what even gods fear to do, heal through mercy." As lightning illuminated the night, Yuli disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind only a white feather that glowed faintly in the mud. From that night onward, the villagers spoke of her with both dread and reverence, for they knew they had driven away the only light that could save them again. Years passed, and the name Yuli became both a curse and a prayer whispered in the winds of Nentabu. The villagers spoke of her in fearful tones during the day, but called to her spirit in secret when night fell. Crops flourished mysteriously after storms, and lost travelers claimed to hear a woman's song guiding them home. Many said Yuli had become one with the forest, that her soul lived among the roots of the great baobab tree, where the spirits danced beneath the moon. Her mother, Akona, grew old waiting for her daughter's return, lighting a small fire by the window each night and whispering, "The spirits protect you, my child." One evening, during a long drought, the people of Entabo gathered at the shrine of the ancestors to pray for rain. Days passed, and the skies remained cruelly silent. Then, on the seventh night, thunder rolled across the hills, and a soft humming filled the air. A woman's voice, haunting and familiar. The villagers followed the sound deep into the whispering forest. The trees glowed faintly, as if lit by unseen hands. At the heart of the woods stood the ancient baobab, larger than ever, its roots covered in glowing flowers. Beneath it lay a stone altar carved with the spiral mark, the same symbol that once shone on Yuli's shoulder. As the villagers knelt in awe, rain began to fall, gentle and warm, soaking the dry earth. A figure appeared in the mist hall, cloaked in light, her hair flowing like black silk, her eyes golden. "Yuli," someone whispered, trembling. The figure smiled softly, but said nothing. She raised her hand, and the storm obeyed, turning into a soft drizzle that fed the soil. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, she faded into light, leaving behind a trail of white feathers that glowed before vanishing into the mud. The people wept not from fear, but from shame and wonder. The chief, now an old man, fell to his knees before the altar and said, "Forgive us, child of two worlds. We feared what we should have revered." From that day forward, the villagers built a small shrine beneath the baobab and named it the Heart of Yuli. Travelers from distant lands came to see it, leaving offerings of feathers, flowers, and carved stones. It is said that when the moon is full, the wind still carries her voice, soft, kind, and powerful, singing lullabies that bring peace to restless hearts. Children grow up hearing her story, learning that true magic is not in power but in compassion. And so, Yuli, once called a witch, became the guardian spirit of Entabo, protector of balance between man and spirit. Her legend lived not in fear, but in love, carried by every whisper of the forest and every drop of rain that kissed the earth.